not my ringtone.
You have one new message.
That's your voice. That's you. Dying. Ever since that bizarre phone call, I keep seeing things. Leanne got a phone call, and so did Shelley, right before they died.
The girl's right. There's got to be some kind of connection here.
It's like you get a voicemail.
Call came in 2 nights ago.
You hear your death.
They get in your head, Beth.
And then you die.
But these things work because they get in your head, Beth.
I'm gonna be next. I'll keep you safe. Any dead people call, we're not home.
This girl needs protection.
Everybody seems to be linked together somehow. We could trace it back to the source and find out who started this.
I mean, come on. I mean, this is a concept that has been done to death so many times before, and even then, they found a way to make it even stupider than you could possibly imagine. So, as the trailer shows you, you have a supernatural killer who, you know, she rings your phone with this lullaby ringtone that's not your own, and then you answer it, and it's supposedly the last thing you say or do before you die. And common sense would tell you that, gee, maybe you shouldn't be going out to these places where you know you're going to be doing this, and then just stay in your home or something like that. You know, like there's literally a part where the first girl we see that gets killed literally gets hit by a train, and yet she still somehow, some way finds a way to dial her phone. Like, that's the absurdity level of this film in general. And you see, Shannon Sossaman is one of the leads in here. So is Ed Burns. So is Anna Claudia Talancon from Nacho Libre and later seen in Cop Out. Ray Wise is also in here. Azura Sky. And, yeah. It's a pretty bad movie. It's been declared one of the worst J-horror remakes ever made, which, you know, it's very tough to say because we are going to get a lot of J-horror remakes with everybody trying to cash in on the Ring and the Grudge success in 2008, because we got this, and then coming up we've got The Eye, and then Shudder. We're not done with these movies by a long shot. They're going to keep making them because we're going to try to make another success out of the Ring and the Grudge. And yeah, spoiler alert, none of those movies are the case whatsoever. I really thought I heard a noise there for a second. I thought that was my phone I thought that was actually the ringtone going off, but no. Maybe I'm just hearing things. But anyway, yeah, that's one missed call. Bad film. What more do you got to say? It's the perfect film to release on the dumping month of January. But with all of that said, though, now let's get to the films that are actually worthwhile. The ones that we didn't talk about last year. Not all of these are worthwhile, but they're films that are notable enough for me to talk about here. So let's go ahead and start off with the first one I have here. The only big new Disney direct-to-video sequel that I saw from this past year, Cinderella 3, A Twist in Time. A movie that I had one opinion on many years ago, but has my opinion changed on it after all these years? Well, we're about to find out.
What if, bibbidi, bobbidi, the magic was taken away? Magic? Very interesting. What if...
Your Grace, please, wait!
The slipper didn't fit?
I danced with the prince. That was my slipper.
Could the dream still come true?
Bibbidi bobbidi boo!
Reverse the moon and sun. Turn back tide and time. Unravel Cinderella's happily ever after. Walt Disney Pictures presents Cinderella 3. Coming soon to Disney DVD.
So yeah, Cinderella 3, as you can see from the little teaser there, Lady Tremaine gets her hands on the fairy godmother's wand, and it basically evaporates the fairy godmother out of the way and turns back time to the day Cinderella tries on the glass slipper, basically enlarging the slipper to fit one of the stepsisters, Anastasia, and erases Prince Charming's memory of meeting Cinderella. Now Cinderella must foil Lady Tremaine's scheme and win back her prince. So, a long time ago, I said that Cinderella 3 was worse than Cinderella 2. And yeah, I didn't like Cinderella 3 at first. I mean, I didn't think the Cinderella sequels were that great in general, but I don't know why. I just did not like Cinderella 3 at first. There was just something about that movie that just kind of bugged me a little bit. I don't know what it was, but I watched it again about 10 years later, and yeah, it's actually a lot better than I remembered it would have been. I mean, it was initially a movie that I thought was just going to be a film that I watched and it's just like, okay, I remember why I didn't like this movie. But no, this is actually a much better movie than I ever thought it was. I would even say it's a better follow-up to Cinderella than Cinderella 2 was. For one thing, there is a lot more to enjoy than I remember from it. I actually do like that there is more character development to a lot of the characters from both movies, which weren't really fully developed or realized. They actually do take a lot of time to fully expand on the characters. Like, I love how the prince and his father, their chemistry is, they get a better storyline in this movie. And the stepsisters even have more time to have character development in here, especially with Anastasia. And you do kind of want to root for her to have a happy ending too, even though it's happening in all the wrong reasons. But the animation in here is a lot better than I remembered. I guess I remember this was the time when the direct-to-DVD movies were slowly but surely kind of dying down a little bit. They weren't being seen as, the most memorable movies in general, were being largely forgotten. But yeah, this was one of those ones where they really did a good job of, upping the budget here. And it really, like with Bambi 2, they do a great job of capturing the spirit of the original movie and showing that the animation studio really did put a lot of attention to detail on how to recapture the original animation style. But like I said, I think it was because they knew that this was kind of beginning the downward end of these direct-to-video sequels, is because they weren't coming out as many as they usually were. Like, there's much lesser ones in the late 2000s compared to ones that came out in the early 2000s. But on top of that, I just think it's a much better movie than I ever thought it was. It's a well-done story. The voice work overall is really good. The twists and turns they pull in here are very impressively done. It is a much better movie than I remember it, and it does a good job of taking both the best and worst aspects of the original Cinderella films and making them work. It's one you should definitely check out. It's actually one of the better Disney direct-to-video sequels out there, and it's one you should definitely check out. It's definitely one that I was completely wrong on when I first saw it, but I am glad to finally see what everyone else has been seeing after all these years. So that's Cinderella 3. Let's go ahead and move on to the next movie. A movie that I thought I covered when this came out, but I guess not. Paul Verhoeven's latest film, Black Book. So Paul Verhoeven directed this film, which is credited as being based on several true events and characters, about a young Jewish woman played by Carice Van Houten in the Netherlands, who becomes a spy for the resistance during World War II after tragedy befalls her in an encounter with the Nazis. This is actually Paul Verhoeven's first film he's made in the Netherlands since The Fourth Man back in 1983, before he eventually moved over to the United States, where he started off pretty good with a couple of movies, RoboCop, Total Recall, Basic Instinct, and then after Showgirls, it was all the kind of downhill from there. I mean, he did have I thought he had a couple of films here and there that weren't actually that bad, but, Starship Troopers wasn't bad, neither was Hollow Man, but this is the first movie he's made back in his native land, and it shows it plays very well to his strengths as a filmmaker as a whole. It's a very engaging movie. Carice Van Houten, who of course would later go on to star in Game of Thrones, is very good in the movie. They do a really good job of not playing it safe and all that. They go for more darker material, and it works very well to the film's advantage. It's been a while since I've seen this one, but I remember really liking it a lot, and I think it still very much holds up to this very day. It's a really good film. Definitely one of Paul Verhoeven's best films overall. One you should definitely check out. Not much more to say about that one, so on to the next movie here. I'm going to try to get through these pretty quickly because I have a lot of them to get to here. Tom and Jerry, A Nutcracker Tale is next.
It's the all-new feature-length animated movie Tom and Jerry, A Nutcracker Tale. Enjoy a winter wonderland of fun as your favorite cat and mouse chase goes into the land of toys and beyond with new and old friends along the way. Don't miss this magical holiday treat that will have everyone dancing with sugar plums in their head.
I wouldn't say this one got sugar plums dancing in my head, but I'll tell you this much. It's definitely one of the better adaptations of the Nutcracker, which really isn't saying a whole lot because I've said before, it's apparently really hard to make a really good version of the Nutcracker. The only ones who have really succeeded in getting it right was, of all things, this. And if you want to even get close to a legitimate adaptation of the story, probably maybe the 1993 Nutcracker movie with Macaulay Culkin. And even then, that's not a great version, but this is a semi-adaptation of the story in which Jerry's in the role of the Nutcracker and Tom is in the role of one of the Mouse King's henchmen. And it's a really bizarre concept because it starts off with Jerry and Tuffy, the little mouse he's always with. Because he sometimes goes as Tuffy or Nibbles, but I think in here he's Tuffy. But they're watching a Broadway musical production of the Nutcracker, and out of nowhere, the thing just transforms into the Nutcracker as a whole, and all of a sudden, everybody is involved in this, including Tom, and this group of cats that are involved in here. And it is an impressively put together little film. It's a really impressive animated feature film that's made direct to video, and it really does play to the strengths of what Tom and Jerry works so well. It's definitely one of the better modern Tom and Jerry productions as a whole. And I really think it helps that you have these two directors, Spike Brandt and Tony Cervone, who have done a lot for Warner Brothers. But when it comes to Tom and Jerry and the Looney Tunes, they really do have a good idea of what these characters represent, how to make them work in a movie. And anytime they're involved in a project, I'm usually there right from the get-go because they are so good at their jobs at it. And this is definitely one of those movies that really shows that and plays to the strengths of how well they know the characters of Tom and Jerry. This isn't a movie where they're side characters in their own movie. They're not playing, but they're not starring in a film where the big story is not about Tom and Jerry. It's about saving this little girl from her evil aunt and her accomplice from getting daddy's money and all that stuff. No, none of that. It's not a movie like the Tom and Jerry live action movie where the animated Tom and Jerry stuff is good, but they have to play second banana to this bland story with Chloe Grace Moretz. No. This is Tom and Jerry playing to the strength of Tom and Jerry. Like, you get the classic Tom and Jerry gags in here with a good adaptation of the Nutcracker. I mean, like I said, it's not the best version of it, but then again, it's also kind of the best version of it considering how other bad adaptations of the story have been. And quite honestly, I don't think we'll ever see a good version of the Nutcracker. If Disney can't even make it work with Nutcrackers in the Four Realms, then you know that this story is going to be really, really hard for anybody to come in and make it work. And Tom and Jerry, they're one of the few ones that actually got it right. So you got to give them points for that. So not much more to say about that one, but Tom and Jerry, A Nutcracker Tale. That would be a much different movie in general. But Tom and Jerry, A Nutcracker Tale, I thought it was pretty good. So, all right, back to some live action movies. Taika Waititi makes his directorial debut on the show here with Eagle vs. Shark.
Shark.
Yep.
I almost came as a shark actually, but then I realized that an eagle's slightly better.
And this is definitely a film that plays to Taika Waititi's very interesting style of humor and comedy, which may not work for most people, but to me it kind of works overall. So yeah, I kind of enjoyed this film. In the film, you have in Wellington, you have a wallflower Lily who's inexplicably attracted to a loser named Jared. She's out of a job. He's nursing a decade-long grudge against someone who teased him in high school. When she accompanies him to his seacoast hometown, where he tends to take on his nemesis, she meets his father, his daughter from a one-night stand, and other family members, plus the memory of his talented dead brother. Jared treats Lily badly, invents a relationship with her dead brother's fiancée, and gears up for his fight. Will she finally have enough and go home? Yeah, this is kind of one of those movies that plays on the level of, do you want to annoy? Where's Taika Waititi at? Are we getting something on the level of something like The Thor Ragnarok, or we start Jojo Rabbit or Next Goal Wins or Thor: Love and Thunder? Or are we getting something on the levels of something like one of his lesser movies? And this is definitely one of those ones that's on the level of his lesser movies. But keep in mind, this is his first film as a director, so his craft really isn't coming together just yet. But you can definitely see the cracks of what eventually would come from this director later on down the road. A lot of his regulars that he works with are in this film. Rachel House from Moana and Soul. Jermaine Clement, who of course is from Flight of the Conchords. Dave Fane. I mean, a lot of recognizable names in this movie that you'll be very familiar with. But as far as the film goes, it's passable, but yeah, it's definitely one of his more flawed films overall, so yeah. Mixed opinion on that one, but that's what you kind of have to expect from a director like Taika Waititi, so. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, the horror comedy Black Sheep.
From civilization, a new breed of fear is here. Get ready.
Oh, my lord!
For the violence of the lambs. Black Sheep, flocking to cinemas October 12th.
Speaking of absurdist comedy, this definitely fits in that category. This is a movie about a group of people who must defend themselves when a genetic engineering experiment turns harmless sheep into bloodthirsty zombies. And judging by that trailer there, it's about as chaotic and as insane as you can get, but it's also kind of fun at the same time. It definitely is very reminiscent to old Peter Jackson works like Delicatessen, It's Alive. You can definitely see a lot from this movie. It's a shame this director, Jonathan King, never really went on to do anything in the States overall. Like, I don't know if he's done anything since then. He's done a couple of other movies, but I think the last thing he directed was Under the Mountain, which is a film I've never seen before, nor have I seen The Tattooist, but it really did feel like he was on his way to becoming a prominent director, similar to what Taika Waititi would eventually become. But yeah, it's a movie that is what it is. It's a chaotic film with these sheep going around killing people, and yeah, if you don't know what you're going into knowing what it is, chances are you're not going to like it. I knew about this film going into it. I had the time of my life. It was a good, silly, over-the-top film. I enjoyed it a lot. So yeah, Black Sheep. Not much more to say about that one. And not much more to say about the next movie either, and that is Rise, Blood Hunter.
When they took her life,
Please don't do this.
You don't even know what this is.
they gave her destiny.
I want to stop them from doing this to anyone else.
You're one of us.
Not by choice.
A new hero will rise.
Death is different now.
I mentioned this one a couple weeks ago when I talked about Alvin the Chipmunks of all things, but here you have a movie where a reporter played by Lucy Liu wakes up in a morgue to discover she is now a vampire. She vows revenge against the vampire cult responsible for a situation and hunts them down one by one. Michael Chiklis plays a haunted police detective whose daughter is victimized by the same group and seeks answers for her gruesome death. What I should also keep in mind is that this was directed by Sebastian Gutierrez, who is, of course, married to Carla Gugino. And I bring this up because this is the same director that did that trilogy of films with Gugino is a part of this ensemble, like Women in Trouble, Electrolux, Girl Walks Into a Bar, movies that, like, they get you in with the sex appeal, and yeah, it's not worth it, especially considering that there's not a good story going on in any of those movies, and if you want to see the nudity and the sex stuff, you can just go online and look at the stuff. And yeah, similar to this here, there's scenes in this where they're clearly trying to get you with the TNA and the lesbian sex stuff, and yeah, this can be done so much better in movies like The Howling. The Howling does that very well, and it's a much better, more stylistic and cool looking film because you have a director like Tony Scott behind the scenes on that. This is a film that is literally just a film that teases you with stuff that you can easily just go online and see. If you really want to see, nudity and lesbianism and all that type of stuff from this movie, just go to Celebrity Movie Archive and just look up the clips there. They're about as much as from this film as you're going to get from it, because other than that, the movie itself is pretty bland. It's pretty lackluster. The story isn't that clever. There isn't anything that interesting about it per se. It's a really boring film, and there's nothing about it that makes it work whatsoever. And yeah, this was the last thing Mako did before he passed away, and it doesn't help either. So yeah, this is one you can easily avoid. Rise, Blood Hunter. So with that said, let's get back to some more absurdist insanity, and that is Cashback.
This is the haunting period. The time when the demons of regret come for you. It felt like all the oxygen had been sucked from the room. I just couldn't fall asleep anymore. I suddenly found I had 8 extra hours. My life had been extended by a third. More time to think about Susie. It was getting obvious that I needed to trade some of my time. I give them my extra 8 hours.
Welcome aboard.
And they give me money. Cash back. I found that all the people working here had perfected their own individual art. Take Sharon Pinto. Sharon knows rule number 1. The clock is the enemy. Barry and Matt are good friends. Between them, they have come up with a very different way of dealing with the trade of their time. I hadn't slept in 2 weeks. I drifted between imagination and reality. I imagined the remote control for life has been paused.
Yeah, this is also going to tie back into Rise Bloodhunter because, yeah, there's stuff in this movie that's very similar to in this movie than there is to Rise Bloodhunter. But when art student Ben Willis breaks up with his girlfriend Susie, he develops chronic insomnia after finding out how quickly she moved on. To pass the long hours of the night, he starts working the late-night shift at the local supermarket. There he meets a colorful cast of characters, all of whom have their own art in dealing with the boredom of an 8-hour shift. Ben's art is that he imagines himself stopping time. This way, he can appreciate the artistic beauty of the frozen world and the people inside it, especially Sharon, the pretty and quiet checkout girl who perhaps holds the answer to solving the problem of Ben's insomnia. I don't think this problem is insomnia. I think the problem with Ben is that he's a fucking creep in this movie. I mean, this movie feels uncomfortable to watch. Like even if you're in it for the gratuitous nudity, and again, if you want to look for that stuff, just go online and look for it, and just avoid watching the film because there is nothing erotic or engaging about this film whatsoever, and there's nothing likable about these characters at all. It's a sloppily put together movie, man. That is just really bizarre and all over the place, and it just feels like a film that had no idea what direction it wanted to go with, but they just saw that, hey, this short film this guy did was very successful. Let's expand this into a movie, and surely the writing will write itself. And no, it does not. The film is actually pretty lazy, and it makes a complete asshole the hero of the storyline. And yeah, that doesn't work in this film's favor per se. So, not much more to say about that one. That is Cashback. So, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here, and that is Paramount's answer to March of the Penguins' Arctic Tale.
After 3 days of feasting on clams, someone starts a game of Pull My Flipper before you know it.
And that right there is the reason why this movie was a big flop at the box office. Well, not really a flop, but definitely a lesser successful film compared to March of the Penguins was. But you have 2 narratives going on here. The life cycle of a mother walrus and her calf, and the life of a polar bear and her cubs used to illustrate the harsh realities of existence in the Arctic. And, yeah, it's a film that's clearly trying to capture the same magic that March of the Penguins did, but March of the Penguins did it with a much more engaging storyline and much more incredible visuals to look at here. Here, this is a film that is clearly trying to rip off the success of March of the Penguins and not doing it in a way that works in the film's favor overall. The stuff that they have here, yeah, it's cool to see the walruses and polar bears in this movie. They're cute to look at, but at the same time, there's really not that elevation there to make this stand out compared to March of the Penguins. And I think everyone was trying to copy what March of the Penguins was doing because not too long after this, Disney started off their own nature co-distribution company with Earth, and then following that with a couple movies of their own. But yeah, other than that, though, this is not a movie that's worth it. It's not a bad movie per se. It's definitely a lot better than the trailer makes it out to be. But yeah, seeing that trailer, I think that turned a lot of people away in general. But yeah, it's not a bad movie, but it's just not a great movie either. So mixed opinion on Arctic Tale. So let's move on to the next movie we have here, and that is High School Musical 2.
Game?
Little?
Because the East High Wildcats are back.
Whatever happens, as long as we're together, it's cool, right?
To take on their biggest challenge yet.
What are you doing here? I'm the new lifeguard.
Summer job.
I told you to hire Troy Bolton, not the entire East High student body.
Now, they're about to discover that working for a country club is no vacation.
It might be wonderful if Troy participates in our talent show.
What? Get ready.
I think we were meant to sing together.
For the start of something new. the Disney Channel original movie, High School Musical 2, coming August 17th to Disney Channel.
I honestly would not be covering these movies if I didn't know that the third film was going to be a theatrical release. But High School Musical 2, taking place sometime after the events of the first film, Zac Efron's Troy Bolton and Vanessa Hudgens' Gabrielle Montez, and the Wildcats find summer jobs at a country club, but tensions rise when Ashley Tisdale Sharpay Evans recruits Bolton for a talent show performance. And again, it's one of those movies that you should know going into it what the film is going to be. And if you're going in there looking for something original and creative, you're not going to find it with this movie. And yeah, going into it, knowing what it was, I just thought it was okay. It's not my cup of tea per se, but it does show the actors in this movie do have potential going forward that they would eventually show on screen, like Zac Efron, Vanessa Hudgens, and Ashley Tisdale. You know, everybody plays their parts in here very well. The music is okay. There's a couple of decent songs here and there. But again, this really isn't made for me per se. And so, yeah, I could see why this thing was a massive success, because it was a big success. It was watched by over 17 million people when it came on Disney Channel for the first time, which is still one of the highest rated cable broadcasts of all time. And of course led to Disney to put the last film in theaters. So there you go. There's clearly an audience for this movie. And yeah, I'm not part of that audience, but hey, let them enjoy what they want. It's not a bad movie, but yeah, it's not made for me. But with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the last film we have here, and that is the horror film, The Poughkeepsie Tapes.
We have to wait 24 hours.
Today, police made a shocking discovery in Poughkeepsie.
A third body was found here today. A Poughkeepsie couple vanished over the weekend, seemingly without a trace.
Do you mind if I film this? I'm making a little movie about my trip.
Poughkeepsie Tapes.
I mean, if anything about this movie stands out, it's that trailer. That trailer is so well put together, and that scene where the girl is in the middle of it's nighttime and she's walking into the kitchen and sees the killer, and tries to run away. That's something that's straight out of nightmares that I've seen before in my life. I've had nightmares like that where you try to get away, but it's too little, too late. Like, I mean, the trailer does a very good job of suckering you into this movie, thinking you're going to get something good here, but this was a film that was originally supposed to be released in 2008, February 2008, but it did premiere at the Tribeca Film Festival, and there was all these problems going on behind the scenes. Even though MGM had already put out this massive promotional campaign, they removed the film from the schedule, and they eventually just decided to dump the film out in theaters. Not even in theaters, but to video on demand, DirecTV video on demand in July of 2014. And then they pulled it again when the director, John Eric Dowdle, suggested that MGM was considering a wide release, which never ended up happening. So the first time most people really got to see this movie, and I got to see this movie, was after 2017 when Shout Factory put the movie out on Blu-ray and DVD for everyone to see. So after all these years, I finally popped it in, seeing that if the trailer was definitely going to deliver what the movie had promised, and or the movie was going to deliver what the trailer had promised, and no, it's your typical found footage movie that thinks it's trying to be smart and clever, but it's just something that looks very cheap and not scary whatsoever. The stuff that was in the trailer seemed like they took that out, or either that or they made it less scarier than it should have been, because that stuff in the trailer still it still is in the back of my mind when I think about this movie. But other than that, though, everything else about the movie is just so pretentious, it's so bland, and it's so forgettable. It's a movie that should be so much more threatening and more terrifying than it actually is. But in a way, it's a perfect representation of this director's work, because this is the guy that also made such masterpieces of garbage like the remake of Wreck, Quarantine. He also did the M. Night Shyamalan produced Devil. He also did As Above, So Below. He also did No Escape. Remember that great film with Owen Wilson and Pierce Brosnan? No, nobody does. Yeah, this movie does a pretty good job of showing what this director is unable to do with a film in general. And yeah, I think a lot of people were very disappointed with the end result of this movie when it came out finally. And I know I was one of those people, but then again, I may have been the only one. But like I said, it's a terrible movie. It's one you should easily avoid, and it definitely did not live up to the hype that trailer set up 10 years prior to it finally getting released. So yeah, a hard skip on the Poughkeepsie tapes.
Under the condition that you perform community service.
No problem with that. $5,000! $5,000!
To keep his son, he's got to keep his cool.
Let the church say amen.
Or a woman. On January 11th.
Y'all got cheese whiz? We raised $200,000.
Their plan.
All we want is the money.
They keep looking at it. Oh, why Jesus doesn't have a prayer.
This is not even my church. I saw this on MySpace.
First Sunday, rated PG-13. In theaters everywhere, January 11th.
So First Sunday tells the story of Ice Cube and Tracy Morgan, their criminal best friends, who they plan on robbing a local church, but they're doing this while they have to serve 5,000 hours of community service. And the results speak for themselves. The chaos, the hilarity ensues, and it's not a bad movie overall. It's definitely one of the lesser films from Ice Cube, and Tracy Morgan, I think, has been in a lot of better movies than this film here, but as for the cast overall, Cat Williams is in the film, Loretta Devine, Keith David, Melinda Williams, Regina Hall, Chi McBride, Clifton Powell. So there is a lot of good talent all across the board in this film, and it's enough to save the film a little bit by pushing it to a level where I could say that it's a decent film overall, but overall it's not a great film. It definitely suffers a lot from being too similar to a movie like Friday, and I think this is more of a more wise mainstream Friday movie, because Friday was specifically tailored for, the R-rated audience. I mean, the first film is an R-rated film. The sequels are also R-rated as well. This one is PG-13, so you can tell that there's not going to be as more risque humor than what you would see in a traditional PG-13 movie. It's that type of a film. And like I said, it's not a bad movie, but just definitely not one of the better Ice Cube movies overall. I've seen Ice Cube be funny in much better movies in general, and I think it mostly comes from the fact that this director, David E. Talbert, has made movies that have been mostly just mediocre at best. And some of them have been good, some of them have been kind of meh. Like Baggage Claim, I thought was kind of okay. So did I think of Almost Christmas, but other than that, though, he hasn't really directed anything too significant or too spectacular. But for what this is, it's fine for what it is. It's nothing too spectacular, nothing too amazing. And if you're looking for an alternative to something like The Bucket List, which was the #1 movie that came out this weekend, I guess this is fine overall, but just don't go into it expecting a masterpiece in any way, shape, or form, or even something on the level of something like the first Friday movie. It's more, I would say it's probably more on the same level as the Friday sequels in general, but as it is, it's fine. Nothing too significant, nothing too amazing. Let it pass. With that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next film we have here, and that is The Pirates Who Don't Do Anything, the second VeggieTales movie.
3 vegetables are going to battle a pirate.
Get them!
Save a princess.
Come again?
And aspire to greatness.
We've come to rescue you! Do you have the keys?
The Pirates Who Don't Do Anything. Rated G.
So this is the second of the 2 VeggieTales movies. We already looked at the first one, Jonah, VeggieTales movie. And this one here, this is the only one that does not explicitly mention God or biblical morals in it. This is a film that is basically a pirate adventure. We essentially have 3 misfits, a very timid Elliot, Larry the Cucumber, lazy Cedric, played by Mr. Lunt, and no self-confident George, played by Pa Grape. I never watched VeggieTales, so I don't know who most of these characters are. I'm pretty sure maybe they might be notable characters in the show or in these movies or whatever these are based off of, but they dream of the day of putting on a show about pirates. With their own problems of mind, not having the dream come true, they soon find themselves traveling back in time to the 17th century and beginning a quest to rescue a royal family from an evil tyrant and learn about being pirates. And what's interesting about this movie is that this film actually had a script that was in the works all the way back in 2002, before Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl came out, the first one of the series. But because the company that made VeggieTales, Big Idea Productions, went into bankruptcy shortly after the movie came out, the first movie, Jonah VeggieTales movie, they weren't able to start production until well late into 2005. So you have kind of a similar thing with The Thief and the Cobbler and Aladdin. Like, everyone thought The Thief and the Cobbler was a ripoff of Aladdin, but that movie, The Thief and the Cobbler, the Richard Williams movie, was made years before we ever got Aladdin in production to begin with. So yeah, it's a weird situation overall, and like I said, I'm not much of a VeggieTales person in general, but these are made specifically for little kids, and for what it is, for a little kid's adventure, it's perfectly salvageable. There's nothing really offensive about it in any way, shape, or form. I would probably say that the animation, and this is actually the best thing about it, because the animation is much more higher quality than the first Jonah VeggieTales movie was, but that was made up by a limited independent production company. This one, you have Universal backing it up behind it, so you get a little bit of help from them. And I don't know, like, to me, like I said, I've never seen VeggieTales in full, so I don't really get the gist of, the whole story of it or these characters in general. So I'm just going off of these movies as they are, and yeah, for what the movie is, it's fine for what it is. It's nothing too amazing, nothing too grand, but for kids, little kids, they'll definitely get a kick out of it overall. So, watch it on that level, you can have a good time with it. It's nothing really that bad overall. It's a very harmless kids film that won't make your kids any dumber, but it will actually motivate them a little bit. Actually give them a little bit of a lesson that they don't even know that they really needed. So that's The Pirates Who Don't Do Anything, a VeggieTales movie. Let's go ahead and move on to the last film we have here, and that's Uwe Boll's latest film, In the Name of the King, a dungeon siege tale.
Your king needs you.
My world, the king's arm is expected to protect the kingdom, not just the castle.
On January 11th, he will fight for vengeance.
King called upon you to face death.
He will fight for love.
Tonight we dress our wounds.
He will fight.
Bury our dead.
To save all he knows.
Tomorrow we gouge evil from its shell.
In the Name of the King. Rated PG-13.
Of course, this is Uwe Boll, so this is obviously based off a series of video games, but unlike Alone in the Dark and Blood Rain and House of the Dead, I don't know much about the video game in general, but even then, I think this is pretty much what you'd expect from an Uwe Boll movie. Set in the Kingdom of Ebb, you follow a farmer who's literally named Farmer, played by Jason Statham, who was adopted by his village. When Farmer's wife Solana, played by Claire Forlani, and his son learn to sell vegetables at the town of Stonebridge, Farmer's farm is attacked by creatures called Kroogs. With the help of his friend and neighbor, Nord, played by Ron Perlman, he travels to Stonebridge where his wife and son are. Before he arrives, the Kroogs, controlled by the wizard Galleon, played by Ray Liotta, kill his son and capture his wife. Farmer, with the help of Bastian, Will Sanderson, his brother-in-law, and Nord set out to find and rescue his wife. The king's nephew, Fallow, Matthew Lillard, is conspiring with the wizard Galleon to take over the kingdom, led by King Conry, played by Burt Reynolds. So yeah, this is probably the most stacked cast that Uwe Boll has ever had to work with, and it still wasn't worth it in the end. It's a movie that is basically what you'd expect from an Uwe Boll film. It's not going to be any good. It's going to be probably an insult to the original games that these are based off of. But I will say this to this movie: it has maybe the funniest line reading of the is that Uwe Boll has ever had. It's when Matthew Lillard just has to say the simple phrase, "I am your king." How does he say it? Not in a normal way. He says it like this.
Your king! I am your king! I am your king! I am your king!
I am your king! I am your king! I am your king! I am your king!
I am your king!
Okay, I have to be completely honest with you. At least the first couple seconds is how he says it in the movie, and then I just basically made a YouTube poop of that one sequence of him just saying it with the speed cut up. That was my video that I did, but yeah, you get the idea. He says this line in the weirdest way possible, but goddamn, it's hilarious every time I hear it. You know, just that crazed look in his eyes, going, "I am your king," like that's brilliant. That's one of the few things I have to give Uwe Boll credit for. He saw that as just like, I don't think we need to do another take. This is perfectly fine. Move along. And yeah, that's the only thing that's really memorable about this movie. Other than that, though, yeah. The rest of the movie's pretty bad, so you could skip that, but hey, what Matthew Lillard brought to the table there, that's more than worth the price of admission, in my opinion. Now, I want you to picture yourself back in summer of 2007. You're about to go see Transformers on the big screen. You might have been me. You went to on a Tuesday night screening, one of the first Tuesday night screenings they had. I think I went to the 7 o'clock showing of it, if I remember correctly. But it was exciting for me to be one of the first people to see that movie in theaters when Transformers came out. I've talked about that movie in length, but you get to the end of the trailers, and usually the end of the trailers, there's always, Paramount, the big studio who's putting out the movie you're about to watch, puts their big next motion picture out there, their next big thing that they're really excited about, and the one that they show here is this little film that you don't really know too much about at first. I mean, you see the Paramount and the Bad Robot logo, and then it starts off like kind of like a yuppie romantic comedy in a way. It's weirdly shot with a home camcorder, and you don't really know what the hell is going on here, like what's about to happen here. And then all of a sudden, the thing takes a radical 360-degree turn from a possible romantic comedy into what happens next. And what happens next, boy, let me tell you something. When that happened, everyone I saw it with was shocked about what the hell just happened. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you probably don't remember this particular trailer.
Looks like you should have left town a little bit earlier.
It's gonna be the best night ever.
Yeah, everybody was probably thinking to themselves, like Steve Martin on Saturday Night Live, what the hell was that? Like this thing took a radical 360-degree turn, and it made people want to know more about this movie. I mean, this is a film that, this is a film that didn't even have a title. It was just 1/1808. Like, they did not want you to know what this trailer was, what the name of this movie was going to be. And there was this whole thing about what the title was going to be, what the hell it was even about. Was it an actual monster? Was it a Godzilla movie? Was it Aliens? Was it September 11th in an alternate universe? Somebody might have thought that, but that's the beautiful thing about this movie, was that nobody really knew what the hell this film was about, but it was actually the first real successful viral marketed movie, because you had to go to the Cloverfield website every week to see all these new close-up photos that were clues to seeing what this was going to be. And, being released in the mid-January slot, back when January was considered a dumping ground for movies, nobody really had a movie like this come out in the middle of January that was really doing a lot of risky things here. I mean, this was a risky gamble for Paramount for it to succeed. And lo and behold, what ended up happening? It ended up becoming a massive hit, making over $40 million on its opening weekend, and over $171 million worldwide, and essentially starting the new genre of filmmaking that is found footage, and making it a successful new genre until we got quickly sick and tired of it, and 3 years into the genre's creation. Yeah, it didn't even take long for the found footage thing to be seen as, very tacky, very cheesy. Unless you have a really good script involved here, chances are this is not going to work out for you. But did Cloverfield actually work out in the end? Most people seem to like it back then. What about nowadays? Well, as you can see from the trailer there, it's presented as found footage shot with a home camcorder, and it follows 6 New York City residents who are attending a going-away party for their friend Rob, played by Michael Stahl-David. After a gigantic monster attacks the city and destroys many buildings, the partygoers flee in panic into the streets. When Rob gets a message from his friend and lover Beth McIntyre, played by Odette Yustman, saying that she is pinned by rubble in her apartment, he and a group of friends, including Hud Platt, played by T.J. Miller, also Lizzie Kaplan is in here as well as one of the people involved here, they venture into the chaos of the ruined city to rescue her. And, I think this movie still very much holds up almost 20 years later. It really is a phenomenal groundbreaking film for the time period. It did a good job of making a modern-day monster movie while taking it from the point of view of the people involved, and it just works. The actors, who were mostly unknowns at the time, make it work, and each of them are very likable, relatable characters, and you really want to root them on. You want everybody to succeed. Even the people that you should probably hate overall, like you really don't like Odette Yustman's character because, yeah, she breaks up with the main character before this whole thing happens, and yeah, you're supposed to hate her because she's seen as kind of a bitch, but, like, it really is something amazing what they were able to accomplish here, and I think it helps with a great script by Drew Goddard, who of course has gone on to become a prolific filmmaker. Matt Reeves is the director of this movie, and we've all seen what he's done since this movie's come out. You know, his work with the Planet of the Apes movies, and he did the Batman. I honestly forgot that he directed the Planet of the Apes movies. I should know this, but for some reason I just thought, am I getting this right or not? But no, he did the last two Planet of the Apes sequels, which were great films. Of course, the Batman was my favorite movie of 2022. And of course, Drew Goddard. Drew Goddard has done a lot of great stuff overall. He's done The Martian. He did World War Z, The Cabin in the Woods. I mean, he's done a lot of notable stuff in general. So, yeah, you have two very good a writer and a director who are really coming together here. And this was also Matt Reeves' first attempt to do a more serious movie. He had directed another movie before this, which I think was a romantic comedy. I think it was Kissing a Fool, if I'm not mistaken, the David Schwimmer movie. And I kind of feel like I need to check that, too. I was close. It does have David Schwimmer in it. It's The Pallbearer from 1996. That's the one he directed. I knew he directed a David Schwimmer romantic comedy, but it was not Kissing a Fool. But as I said, this could have easily been a stupid, cheap monster movie, and it really wasn't. They do take chances and are able to make this look as realistic as a story like this could. For the minimal budget that they had for this movie, the effects are incredible, and yeah, they do a good job of making this monster look authentic and realistic, and best of all, a lot of the monster is kept in the shadows up until the very end when they finally reveal the monster, and yeah, it looks pretty badass. It was scary as hell watching it for the first time. Like, it really was terrifying the first time I saw this thing. Like, this film did its homework and does it very well. It works as a modern-day monster movie that manages to use the point of view aspect of somebody to its advantage. It's a great action movie. The acting's great. The story works. The visual's fantastic. It's an incredible movie, man. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. And it did lead to, maybe not a sequel per se, but it led to a pretty good spin-off film in 10 Cloverfield Lane, which, again, kind of came out of nowhere. It was one of those things where, you know, you go to see 13 Hours in theaters, and all of a sudden you see this trailer for this movie called 10 Cloverfield Lane, and so you think, oh, this has got to be a sequel or something. But no, this is it's like a spin-off film that takes place within the events of that. And it looked like they were on their way to creating a good franchise with this, but then Cloverfield Paradox came along and completely ruined that, so. But they've been talking about actually doing a legitimate Cloverfield sequel for years now. Honestly, I think it's a little too late for that. I think Cloverfield Paradox kind of killed that right away, but they did say as of January 2021, there's a script being written for a sequel, so I don't know. Like, I don't know how I would feel about a sequel to this nowadays, but hey, you got a great movie in Cloverfield, and it definitely shows what the potential of found footage can do if you have a really good director involved, a really good writer involved, really good actors involved, and they're committed to the craft, and it works very well here. It's a very good film, one of my favorite movies of all time, Cloverfield. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here, and that's Katherine Heigl in one of her few really good romantic comedies after Knocked Up, and that is 27 Dresses.
Jane, is that you?
Yep. I never loved.
You look so beautiful. You really think so? Like it was made for you.
Always 1 foot on the ground.
Delightful.
And by protecting my heart, true.
It's a bride. Okay, everybody ready?
Here we go. Do you know your name?
Jane.
I'm Kevin. Ooh, okay. Why don't we get you a cab?
It's a really lovely wedding.
Don't you think it's a whole lot of ritual for something? It's got about a 50-50 shot of making it out of the gate.
Oh, how very refreshing. A man who doesn't believe in marriage.
Jane was good at taking care of everyone.
You've been a bridesmaid 27 times? What do you do besides work and help people get married?
You having fun? Oh, it's a great party.
But she never took care of herself.
Jane, did you put that breakfast burrito on my desk?
I just thought you might be hungry.
That's why I love you.
I love you too. Oh, yeah, you're right. I needed that. George appreciates me.
What good is it being appreciated if no one is naked? Go over there and tell him how you feel. Now, go!
George, this is my sister Tess. Tess, this is my George. No, I didn't mean it like that.
You want to get a drink?
Absolutely. Congratulations.
Maybe the only good Katherine Heigl comedy after Knocked Up, because everything she did after this was, yeah, that star just went down so quickly. Katherine Heigl plays Jane, and there's two things about her that you need to know. She never says no to her friends. She's been a bridesmaid 27 times and selfishly plans friends' weddings, and she's in love with her boss, played by Ed Burns, nurturing dreams of a lovely romantic wedding of her own. She meets a cynical writer played by James Marsden who finds her attractive, and that same week her flirtatious young sister played by Malin Ackerman comes to town, and Jane silently watches George fall for Tess, a manipulative pretender, and worse, Jane may be called upon to plan their wedding, because, you know, with movies like this, you're going to plan the wedding 3 weeks after you met the guy, and surely nothing will go wrong with that. And meanwhile, Kevin tries to get Jane's attention, and has an idea that may advance her career, but can Jane uncork her feelings? And really, I think this movie works because Katherine Heigl is surrounded by a really good cast of talented people. I mean, James Marsden is really good in the movie. You know, you got really a lot of very good people all across the board here. Malin Ackerman, I think, is very good. Judy Greer, Melora Hardin from The Office, Jan Levinson Gould. Very underrated actress, honestly. I don't think she really gets the proper attention she deserves because, man, she does so much. Like, she could be a really good actress. She's also proven to be a really good singer in the past and a good dancer, too. If you ever saw her in it was one of those, I think it was, the Bottom movies. I can't remember which one it was. I'm trying to remember which one it was. There was two of them in 1990 that came out. It's just called Labada. I knew it was one of those two, but, like I said, you have Edward Burns, you have Malik Penchroli from 30 Rock, you have Kristen Ritter in one of her early film roles. I mean, she's surrounded by a lot of really good talent in this movie, and she is very likable in the film. Like, this is one of the, like I said, it's one of the few films that she's in where she really does come off as a likable person that you want to get behind, unlike all the other movies where she's just playing a stereotype of really bad rom-com characters. But in here, she's surrounded by a lot of really good talent. You do want to get behind her in this situation here. You do feel like she does get screwed over badly in this film by her own sister, and, like, you know, I mean, it's a really fun movie. There's nothing really that clever about it. There's nothing that amazing about it, but the performances overall, I think, do carry the load. And I think it also helps you have a really good director and writer who, you know, Anne Fletcher did Step Up. She also did, the writer Alan Brosh McKenna did The Devil Wears Prada. I think with those talents there and the people that she's surrounded by, Katherine Heigl has a good movie rom-com after Knocked Up. It's a really enjoyable film. It's not a classic movie by any means necessary, but it is still one of the few really good movies that I've seen her in, and probably her best non-knocked up romantic comedy she's ever been in, honestly. But yeah, that's about 27 Dresses. So yeah, not a bad movie overall. And hey, this is coming on a Valentine's week, perfect Valentine's Day movie. So with that said, let us go ahead and move on to some lesser movies that came out this weekend, starting with our next film here. Hey, remember when stars tried to start their own film company and their first movie was called Mad Money?
What would you do with millions of dollars? Anything you want. Money can buy you
Happiness? Don't let anybody tell you different.
This Friday.
We need more.
I could use more.
From the creator of Thelma and Louise.
What's up with all these $1 bills?
I was in a hurry.
Get rich quick.
Yeah. Keep the change.
Mad Money. Rated PG-13. Starts Friday.
Now you're starting to see why this company only lasted 2 years. And by the way, Katie Holmes, she turned down The Dark Knight because of this. This is the film that she literally turned down to star in. She'd rather star in a bad movie like this than star in one of the greatest movies of all time, honestly. But with their house repossessed, her husband recently downsized, and the debts in bank rapidly piling up, Bridget Kerrigan, played by Diane Keaton, is a rich housewife who, after nearly 30 years of high-class living, needs to start from scratch and looks for a job. As a result, Bridget has no other choice. She will accept a job as a cleaner at the Kansas City Federal Reserve, where, much to her surprise, an unsuspected yet serious flaw in the security system exists. Suddenly, Bridget is tempted to return to her good old life, and without delay, she hatches a daring plan to get her hands on the mounds of worn-out cash with the help of two eager co-workers played by Queen Latifah and Katie Holmes. However, there is no such thing as a fail-proof scheme. This is a movie that literally looks like a sitcom you would see, not even for Stars. Like, Stars, I think, would know better than to do something like this for an original TV show. Like, this isn't even good enough for a Stars television show. This is something you would see on like on CBS or NBC, like one of those high concept dramedy shows that they hype up as, something more than actually is, when it really is not. And the fact that this came from the same person who gave us Thelma and Louise 17 years ago, like, how the mighty have fallen, man. This is a film that just has everything wrong with it, from the director of this movie being poorly put in here. The stars in here are completely wasted. Not just Keaton, Latifah, and Holmes, but Ted Danson, Stephen Root, Christopher McDonald. A lot of really good people in this film. And they're just given nothing to do here. It's a lazy, lazy comedy that just goes for the sitcom jokes. There's nothing clever about it. There's nothing funny about it. People that are usually very reliable in this movie are completely wasted and not used here well at all. This is a terrible movie. This is not a funny film. It's not a clever movie. And yeah, movies like this are the reason why this company never got off the ground. They had a couple of good movies here and there, but yeah, you had to sit through some real garbage films before you get to those ones. And this is definitely one of those ones that makes you look at it and say, this thing ain't lasting less than 5 years. And sure enough, it lasted only 2 years into its existence before it got shut down. But anyway, that's Mad Money for you. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here. Woody Allen's latest film, and that is Cassandra's Dream.
One brother wanted a better life.
I've met this incredible girl.
I want us to go to California together.
The other needed a way out.
I lost a lot of money in a car game.
Oh, we're in real trouble here. Yes, you're in real trouble.
Tomorrow.
So what kind of money are we looking at? We both find a way to pay you back.
Every dream has its price.
What's he expect? Kill some guy for?
From director Woody Allen, Cassandra's Dream.
A movie that really has no idea what the hell it's trying to be. Like, I get that Woody Allen's trying to do something different, similar to what he did a couple years ago with Match Point, but man, here's the first real stumble he's had in a while. Like, he was on a good stretch between 2003 and 2006, and then he follows it up with this film. He follows Scoop up with this, and boy, it does not work at all. You have Ewan McGregor and Colin Farrell starring as two London brothers who are hard up for cash, but both have girls to look out for. When their rich Uncle Howard, played by Tom Wilkinson, comes to town and agrees to help him out, he admits his finances are under investigation, and he asks them to do a favor and take care of an old business relation to keep his trouble under wraps. He says that they're family, and since he's always taking care of them, the least they could do is help him out this once, as they are the ones he can trust. The film follows the struggles with the immorality of the request, and how each brother chooses to deal with it. And like I said before, Woody Allen tried to do something very different outside of his normal Match Point, which worked really well for him. This time, it doesn't work as well. Colin Farrell and Ewan McGregor are doing the best they can to salvage whatever they could with this, and so is everybody else. Tom Wilkinson, Haley Atwell, before anyone even knew who Haley Atwell was. But other than that, though, this is a very heavy-handed movie and does not have an interesting hook to it to save it in the long run. And like I said, it has no idea what the hell it's trying to do. It's like trying to be something different than what Woody Allen is used to doing, but it really does not work in the long run. It's a very ambitious film on Allen's part, but overall, it's way too heavy-handed and underwritten to carry the load overall. It's a hard skip for me on Cassandra's Dream, a film that should have been so much better, but not so much. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here, and that is the aptly named Teeth.
Great while, a film is made that haunts audiences for years to come. Rosemary's Baby, The Exorcist, The Shining, The Blair Witch Project.
There is something inside of me that's lethal.
This Friday.
Put your feet right in here.
Didn't it's Latin for teeth.
What do you put in here?
Audiences will be daring themselves to see Teeth, rated R.
The movie that basically says, yeah, go ahead and try to rape me and see what happens next. Because, yeah, you're not going to like what happens next here. I mean, this is a film that literally is the definition of a revenge rape movie. And holy crap, man, this is a film that is bizarre, weird, but I have to appease it for how crazy it is, because it is indeed a crazy movie. Well, you have Jess Wexler playing Dawn, who grows up in the shadow of a nuclear power plant, and in high school, while her biology class studies evolution, she realizes that she may have a hidden curse, an adaptation, if you will. She lives with her mom, stepfather, and hard-edged stepbrother, and she likes this guy at school named Toby, and he likes her. She takes a pledge to remain chastised until married, so they date in groups, watch G-rated films, and don't kiss. But the power of teen hormones is great, so temptation beckons, and Dawn has an admirer in Ryan, and when things have an unexpected twist with Toby, she turns to Ryan for help. Will he be her mythical hero and rescue her, or could she find a way as her own hero, turning the curse into an asset? And I'm not even kidding when I say this is the definition of a revenge rape movie, because yeah, everybody wants a piece of this girl in this town. Like, the doctors want a piece of her, like they don't even hide it, man. This is a film that could have easily gone down the rabbit hole so quickly, but no. What they do with this film is so bizarre, so insane, and so crazy. Like, you have to give it a lot of praise and credit for what they did, because, man, it works. Like, it works to a T. This is one of the most chaotic horror comedies you'll ever see. It's essentially a black horror comedy, and it really is a film that is so in your face and so out of the box with what they do here. You can't help but admire it. Jess Wexler, I think, works very well as this girl hero. She plays that character so menacingly, innocent yet menacingly at the same time, and it just works. Like, this is a film that is so ridiculous and so insane. Like, you can't help but admire it for the balls it has to go to the lengths that it does. Like, it's chaotic, it's ridiculous, it's over the top, it's a ton of fun. It is a very serious cautionary tale for anyone that wants to try to pull this on somebody else. Like, here's what happens if you try to do what you think you're thinking about doing. But yeah, not much more to say about it, man. You know, it's a movie with a girl who has teeth in her vagina, and it eats, your little, whats. But yeah, what a crazy fun movie, man. Teeth is one I'd highly recommend. Like, if you're looking for an insane, over-the-top black horror comedy, Teeth is definitely in that same category. Something like Black Sheep, or a film I didn't even get to cover the last time is in 2007, Fido, which was the film about the zombie that becomes like a pet dog. And like, this was a good time for movies to just go gonzo and just go crazy and just make it work. And this is one of those movies that makes it work very well. It's one I highly recommend. If you're looking for a fun, over-the-top black horror comedy, Teeth is definitely one you should definitely check out. Now, if you're looking for a comedy that is pretty bland and forgettable and also really, really stupid, boy, the last film certainly does that for you. Let's go back to the same lengths as Mad Money with a film that's even worse than Mad Money. Pamela Anderson and Denise Richards star in Blonde and Blonder.
Stop the plane!
Who taught the plane?
Two boys.
Blondes. Oh my God.
What kind of candies are these? They're really good.
Those are rocks from the Japanese rock garden.
I hate sushi. I'm trying to find Hun Long. I think she's French. Can't wait to get in there. This looks familiar.
Those jerks! They better not scratch my car.
Would you mind throwing the dice for me?
So when did you start flying?
Well, today's my first lesson.
Yeah, me too. Oh, that's funny.
I mean, that's literally the humor in this movie, and boy, thank God the last Showgirl came out for Pam Anderson, because good lord, like, out of all the things she's done, that's probably the bottom of the barrel for her in this. But I'm glad to see she came back around recently with the last Showgirl. But man, This was rough to sit through. You have Pam Anderson and Denise Richards starring as Dean and Dawn, who are two dim-witted, pink-clad blonde ladies who meet by accident and try to make a living with their dull lives until a series of circumstances ensue when they unwillingly take local jobs at a local strip club. They are mistaken for two deadly female brunette assassins known only as the Cat and the Kit, who are hired to kill the club owner who is a mobster in a witness protection program. With two persistent but inept FBI agents on their tails, ditzy Dean and Dawn try to stay one step ahead of the law and also try to figure out what is really going on. Look, not everybody can do what Beavis and Butthead did back in the 90s and made work. I'm sorry. Beavis and Butthead did the exact same plot with their movie To America, where they were literally seen as threats to the nation, and that was done much more cleverly, much more funnier, much smarter. This is what happens when you take that plot and give it to somebody who literally has the same brain cells as the two main characters in this movie. And the worst part about it is, the uncredited director on this movie is the same guy that gave us Porky's and A Christmas Story. Bob Clark did some uncredited directing work on this film. That's how terrible this movie is. And this is part of that downward trend for him. Like, he was making these bad movies. Like, he made that Karate Dog movie with Chevy Chase that came out around the same time. Like, this is everything that's wrong with every bad comedy out there. Like, this is what happens when somebody takes the Beavis and Butthead formula and says, we can find a way to bring this into the live action world, and we can do it with these two blondes. Like someone said, let's do Beavis and Butthead meets Legally Blonde, except let's make the blonde even stupider and even more, and make Beavis and Butthead look like the smartest people in the world. And boy, did they succeed in that. And in terms of the film itself, they failed on every single level, because not a single goddamn laugh came out of this fucking movie. This is everything that's wrong with bad comedies. This is a film that is so utterly terrible, so abysmal, and so badly put together. The only thing that would keep this off of a list of the worst comedies of the year, of this particular year, is that we've still got 3 weeks where we're going to have some really, really bad comedies coming up here. And trust me, as bad as this is, it's going to get a whole lot worse in the weeks to come. And we'll start to see that with next week's show.
The year's biggest movies are going over the edge.
Stop kicking people into the pit of death, really.
On January 25th.
Hockey feet. What you laughing at, cracker?
The bigger the hit,
Spidey, you're fired.
the harder they fall.
Bow to me, or you will die. Deal or no deal.
What about Sparta?
From the guys who saw 300.
We about to stomp the yard. Yo, loud man, can't nobody not get. You got served.
Comes the next big epic comedy.
How we match? Go, 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 go.
Leave Betty alone. Please.
Meet the Spartans.
Bow down to the great Xerxes.
I'm a Hilton. I don't bow, but I do bend over.
Once again, Rambo lost to this movie. You fucking people out there. Maybe not all of you out there, because maybe some of you might have been... I would like to think you weren't my audience is not too young to remember this movie coming out, but who knows? You never know at this point. I would like to think that they are in the people that watch this video are in the same demographic as I am, in their 30s, and either way, there's no excuse for how bad this movie is, for the fact that this movie was a big success, because good lord. Yeah, you see, it's mostly a parody of 300, but parody in quotation marks. It's more of a, hey, remember when 300 was the thing? Hey, remember when Britney Spears went crazy and she decided to cut all her hair off? Hey, remember Happy Feet? Remember Shrek the Third? Remember Chris Chan's Leave Britney Alone video? You know, remember Deal or No Deal? Like, that's all these movies are, is just, hey, remember this, remember this, remember this, and there's nothing funny about it whatsoever. That is literally this movie. It's the crux of the parodies. The parody, in quotation marks, I have to keep reminding myself of that, is 300. But there's references to everything that was basically just popular within the last year. That's literally the entire movie. This is the definition of what is wrong with spook movies in general. And the fact that this country made this movie the #1 movie at the box office. Just, It's amazing. It's amazing how low we have stooped. We have done stupid things in this country, and we continue to do stupid things in this country, but this is definitely the absolute worst thing imaginable that we could have done to make this movie a hit and allow these two idiots to keep making movies like this, because they kept making movies like this over and over again. And yeah, this is, what do I even need to say about this movie? This is garbage. This is absolute garbage. The jokes are not funny. Oh, I'm sorry, I say jokes, but they're not really jokes. They're just, like I said, references to stuff that happened in the last year. That's all these movies are. And the fact that this was a box office hit, the fact that this film beat out so many better movies, and this was the top film that came out that weekend, it's awe-inspiring. It is absolutely 100% awe-inspiring. And I think, but here's the thing. I think a lot of people saw this movie and saw how bad it is and realized, we probably should, we thought maybe this was going to be funny, but we realized how terrible this was, because the next movie these two guys would do came out in August of that same year. They tried to do the same thing again, and people were smart enough to stay the hell away from that movie. So maybe, just maybe this is something where it's both a blessing and a curse. It's a curse because it was the top movie at the box office, but a blessing maybe from the people realizing that, yeah, this fucking sucks. I mean, to explain how bad this movie is, this thing is 83 minutes long. We just had a movie called Love Hurts that just came out recently. Which is a bad movie, unfortunately, but at least that had a reason to pad out the running time here. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised at all if the studio forced them to cut that down so that they could do essentially a re-release down the road with Shout Factory and all that. But this movie, if you take the credits out, is only 60 minutes long. There's 23 minutes of credits and outtakes, if you will, because they knew they had nothing to work with. They padded the running time out. This movie is so goddamn lazy. This is why I give movies like The Comebacks and Superhero Movie and anything made by the Zucker Brothers a free pass around this time period, because you know what? They're at least trying to entertain you. They're at least trying to be funny, and sometimes they do work. But there's no excuse. This is a complete clusterfuck of a movie. This is easily the bottom of the barrel. One of the worst comedies you will ever see in your entire life. It is amazing that this isn't in my worst movies list, because honestly, this could have easily been right up there, because it's that bad of a movie. It's wasting all these people that could be doing something much better with their lives instead of making this garbage. And yeah, it's a complete waste of your time. It's a terrible movie. What more do you gotta say, man? Meet the Spartans. Absolute abysmal garbage. So, let's see the movies that this thing beat out. The better movie, if you will, that came out this weekend. Sylvester Stallone returning as John Rambo in Rambo.
Nothing or die for something. Your call.
Well, this was originally supposed to be called John Rambo, but then they changed it to just Rambo. And this is, of course, the fifth installment of the Rambo series. Fourth installment of the Rambo series. There are 5 movies, but we won't get to the 5th one until 11 years later. But this is the 4th installment of the Rambo series, and this time around you have Rambo once again played by Stallone, who leads a group of mercenaries into Burma to rescue Christian missionaries who have been kidnapped by a local infantry unit. And what follows is a movie that is what you'd expect from a Rambo movie, except not as bad as something like Rambo 3, and much more over-the-top craziness. I mean, the final climax of the movie alone, where Rambo is just going around killing people with this, what do you call it? What is the, I'm trying to remember what it was that he uses. I can't remember it now. A 50 caliber machine gun. I was trying to remember what it was called. I know what it would look like, but I just couldn't remember the name of it. But no, it's a 50 caliber machine gun. That entire scene is stupid. It's insane. It's over the top. And I'll be damned, when that happened, I was enjoying the hell out of that, as most people did. Because, yeah, it's stupid. It's over the top. But it was so goddamn fun to watch that entire scene. how over the top it was. The fact that they used practical effects mixed in with the CG. I mean, this was a good fun time all across the board. Is it a classic film? No. Is it a masterpiece? No. But you know what? It was certainly the most enjoyable, fun Rambo movie I had seen up to that point. And I had seen only a few of them until is at that point. I only saw maybe the first one and the second one. I didn't see the third one until later on down the road. But yeah, this is definitely a very fun film all across the board. It's stupid, it's silly, but it works very well for what it's trying to do here. I mean, it's a very good movie. It's good to see Rambo back in the saddle here again. It's just a good fun time all across the board. Stupid, yes, but a good fun time all across the board. I enjoy it so much. Rambo, the movie that should have been the #1 movie this weekend, but of course, people were stupid to go see Meet the Spartans. Or maybe they weren't. Maybe the movie was a success because they bought tickets for Meet the Spartans, but then snuck their way into Rambo after that. I mean, it's not like that has to happen before, so I wouldn't be shocked at all if that was actually what happened. But if you bought tickets for Meet the Spartans to see our next movie, then you are a friggin' idiot. Let's talk about Diane Lane in Untraceable.
Hi, Mommy. Did you need bad guys?
Just one. FBI agent Jennifer Marsh hunts down the most vicious criminals in the world.
We need you to knock down a door for us.
Check out this website. But how do you stop a killer?
This website's like nothing we've ever seen before. It's untraceable.
Who can get to you?
He got all the way into my wireless network.
Mom, there's a video of our house on the computer.
Virtually anywhere.
You think this is it? It's just the beginning.
Hello, Jennifer. Untraceable. Rated R. Opens every...
Yeah, if you're stupid enough to leave your car because it's shut down, leave it, then come back and think nothing is going to happen whatsoever on a dark, stormy night, only to realize that the killer is literally behind you, you deserve to die. And I'm sorry, Diane Lane deserved to die in this fucking movie for being as stupid as she is. And I mean, this is one of the stupidest movies I've ever seen in my life. You have a story that's set in Portland, Oregon, where you follow a serial killer who rigs contraptions that kills his victims based on the numbers of hits he receives on a website that features a live streaming video of the victim. Millions of people log on, hastening the victim's deaths. And yeah, there's possibly a good idea here, maybe a good message here about, hey, careful what you do online and all that, or watch the dangers of online and all that stuff, but this movie isn't smart enough to tell you a good story. No. It wants to do all this for shock value. And you know what? Shock value can work if you have a good concept to work with here. Why do we think the Saw movies were the big successes that they were? Because people wanted to go see the new and elaborate creative ways that they're going to kill people. Nobody was going to this movie to see anything new or spectacular or anything amazing about it. And it's a shame that everybody involved here should be doing so much better than this. And the film is it's so frustrating. I had to burp it out before I had a chance to think of what I was talking about. But it's one of the most hypocritical movies I have ever seen in my life. Like, it's a movie that literally is trying to get a message out there, but it's saying, hey, go ahead and do this because, we want you to be entertained by this, even though our main goal and the message of this movie is don't do this. But come see our movie anyway where we're going to glorify this. Like, this is like The Condemned all over again. It's literally a film that is one of the most hypocritical things you could ever see in your entire life. Like, this is a terrible movie, and it doesn't help that everybody in here is stupid. Diane Lane is supposed to be an FBI agent. You're supposed to be very smart if you're an FBI agent, and yeah, this is not a smart lady in this movie. She is pretty dumb with the decisions she makes. Everything she does in this movie is incredibly stupid. Like, it's just a poorly written character, and it's not Diane Lane's fault that she's bad in it. It's a bad character she's been written as. Colin Hanks is in this movie. She's pretty badly written. Billy Burke is in here. He's badly written. Everybody in this movie is badly written as a stereotype, a character who is glorifying hypocrisy in every way, shape, or form. And nothing about this movie is terrifying or threatening whatsoever. This is the definition of a film that is so stupid at trying to convince you about something and just fails on every single level. This is a terrible movie, man. I hate this film so goddamn much. Avoid Untraceable like the plague. Avoid this movie. You're doing yourself a huge favor by doing so, because the people in here may not be smart, but you could be smart enough to avoid this movie. But you can also do the same thing with our next movie, too. Here's another one of those dance movie clones that was trying to capture the spirit and success of Step Up, and You Got Served and Stomp the Yard, and just was a complete waste of time. How's She Move?
It's funny, isn't it? How one moment can change a million after it.
In 3 days. I've never seen anybody fight so hard for something. One chance.
I'm doing what I have to get out of here.
One moment.
This is the best step competition in the universe, y'all.
One dream. This is our shot. We've been waiting for this our whole lives. How She Moved. Rated PG-13. Starts Friday.
You know, if you have to gloat about being the best step competition in the universe, chances are you're not as good as you think you are. And sure enough, just like everything else about this movie isn't as good as it thinks it is. So in the movie, unable to afford the tuition needed to fund her private school education, Rihanna, played by Rutina Wesley from True Blood, returns to her family home in the city where reluctantly reevaluating her future. Upon learning that the top prize for an upcoming step dance competition is $50,000, Rhea uses her impressive moves to earn a coveted slot in her good friend Bishop's predominantly male JSJ crew. Isolated from the local women due to jealousy and separation from her fellow dancers by her sex, the ambiguous dancer is subsequently kicked off the team for showing off during a preliminary competition. Now, if Rhea has any hopes of realizing her medical school dreams, she will have to either earn back Bishop's trust or organize her own dance crew and start over from scratch. In the end, she eventually learns how she moves. Yeah, this is literally every single dance movie that has come out in the last 4 years, and this is definitely one of the lesser ones. In fact, this is probably one where I would say this is probably one of the worst ones easily. This is a terrible movie. And it's literally because they're doing absolutely everything that has been done in every other dance movie. There's nothing clever about these dance moves. There's nothing incredible about these dance moves. There's nothing unique or different about them. It is literally the same movie as Step Up. It's the same movie as You Got Served. It's the same movie as Stomp the Yard. It's literally every single movie, and they're doing absolutely nothing different that we haven't seen done much better in other movies like this. This is not a good movie, and it wastes some good talent. Rutina Wesley can be a very good actress. I mean, she's in True Blood. You've got Nina Dobrev from the Vampire Diaries in here. Like, she's turned out to be a decent actress. There's a lot of things that could work about the movie, but unfortunately, it's stuck in a script that has been done to death so many times before, and there's only so much you can do that's different from the other films to make it stand out on its own. The thing about the Step Up movies is that, yeah, they may all look like the same movies over and over again, but the way they shoot the dance scenes and how the dances go off, like, that's what makes the Step Up movies stand out as much as they do, because they're not afraid of doing the same things over and over again, because they can do unique and creative things with it and keep those movies relatable and also very popular and very enjoyable with each passing film. Like, we're going to see that in a couple weeks when we look at the Step Up sequel, Step Up to the Streets, which actually takes the Step Up franchise into a whole new level, where it started off as kind of like this movie, a generic, bland, romantic dance film, and then and what they do with it later on turns into something unique and very different and very clever. Something that this film refuses to even acknowledge to try to do that. Like, this is not a very good movie. This is a film that wastes a lot of good talent, a lot of good ideas, and just does nothing with it, because it's the same things we've seen done over and over and over again, and there's nothing cleverly done about it, and it's a film that is literally just trying to cash in on the same success of these other movies I've talked about, and not doing it well at all. So, yeah, a hard skip on How She Moved. So, with all of that said, let us go ahead and move on to our last movie here, which is a very interesting film, and how it led to the eventual popular trend that would eventually come down the road in the next couple of years. Let's talk about U2 3D. So as you can see, this is a 3D concert film, but an unusual, it's a very rare, unique concert film, as it's the first ever live-action digital 3D film. Now, the next week we're going to have another digital 3D release coming out here, but these two movies that this one and the next one coming up are very important going forward because of what they did to make these movies. You basically have a film that is, concert footage that includes political and social statements made during the shows and features most of the songs from U2's album How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb, and it's their second feature film after U2 Rattle and Hum back in 1988, which we talked about on Time About the Movie's Flashback. And it was created with a new type of 3D technology pioneered by Peter Anderson and producer Steve Schler, I think I pronounced it right, but, they started thinking about shooting American football games in 3D and decided to use a concert film with U2 to do this, and they shot this at 7 different concerts in Latin America and 2 in Australia to create this movie where it has this very complex setup here, where you're shooting up to 18 different 3D cameras simultaneously and capturing the footage digitally. No movie had done this beforehand, and it was such a unique concept overall, and most people would have never guessed that this film that's under 90 minutes took from 7 different shows and used all these cameras. Like, this is an impressive attempt here. Like, we've had movies that have been made in 3D before. IMAX 3D had a number of different movies, different documentaries coming out in the 2000s and the early 90s, in the late 90s, I should say. But yeah, this was a radically different movie because it gave people an opportunity to see what a full-length live-action digital 3D film would look like. And it was eventually the thing that eventually led to the trend that we're going to get to from this point going forward, where digital 3D became a norm for a long period of time. We started to see movies the following year using more of focusing more on the fact that it's a 3D movie. Like, you can get these 3D glasses that have now become the staple, and it become the trend that you see when you go to a movie theater now. And lucky for me, I was able to see this movie in a regular movie theater with the 3D technology, and it was really impressive to see. Like, it was a movie where it felt like you were actually at this concert, and it is well done on a number of different levels. Like, you can feel like you're right in the thick of this concert, and it's impressively put together. It never feels like it takes you out of the movie in general, and it never feels like you're completely out of this concert overall. And it's a really impressive feat overall, from what I remember from it. I don't even think it is. I can't even remember if this ever has actually been released on Blu-ray or DVD, which it probably has, and I just haven't found it. But yeah, I remember seeing this in theaters in my regular movie theater that I had. I didn't get to go all the way out to, the Pittsburgh Mills or down to the IMAX theaters in Carnegie Science Center in downtown. No, I saw this at a regular theater, and I was blown away with how impressive it looked, man. And it looked really, really impressive to see. And, I like U2's music overall. I do like a lot of their songs, and yeah, this was right up my alley. It was cool to see this in a theater. It was cool to have that experience like I was actually at a concert, and it really did a good job of making it feel like you were at a concert, and it did a great job at it. It's a great movie, man. It's a movie that I remember very, very much, even though I haven't seen it since I saw it in theaters. But having to see it, remembering how I saw this 3D show, acting as I felt like I was actually at the show. Like, it's an impressive feat what they were able to accomplish here. And of course, it would lead into what would eventually come with movies going into focusing more on the digital 3D aspects. Sometimes, a lot of times it worked, and then there was that time when studios tried to take films that were not made with 3D cameras and tried to put 3D in them, and it failed miserably. And we're still a couple of years away from that happening, but they are notable bad films that we'll eventually get to here. But as far as this film goes, this was a really good film. I do recommend it a lot, especially if you like U2's music. You're going to have a good time with this film. U2 3D.